Are we live?
We acknowledge the land we stand on as the territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit,
the Anishinaabeg, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations,
Inuit, and Métis people. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit.
All right. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to Shaping Black Characters on Screen. So excited about this conversation. Our guest speakers, Kalia Cunningham, Roxanne Donabrega, Julia Carter, and Mariah Inger, hello, ladies, have all built decades-long, remarkable, and successful careers in hair, makeup, and acting in the film and television industry. They're here today to discuss their career paths and crafts, to provide advice to audience members looking to enter these fields, and to share their insights on the pressing need for more hair and makeup professionals who are skilled across all textures, hair textures, and skin tones. This event is presented by WarnerMedia Access Canada and the Reelworld Screen Institute. My name is Deanna Cadet, and I'm the Executive Director of WarnerMedia Access Canada. Our team supports talent development in a number of ways, including through scholarships with hair and makeup schools, such as the Blanche Macdonald Centre in Vancouver and the College of Makeup and Art and Design in Toronto. In the final 15 minutes of today's discussion, we'll have a Q&A, so please add your comments to the chat. All right, let's dive right in and get to know our guest speakers. All right, so with our first question is around breaking into the industry and your career paths. So breaking into the industry as a hairstylist or makeup artist, or in Mariah's case, as an actor who has taken on an advocacy role within the union, is often a mystery. So I'd like to invite each of our guests to introduce themselves, tell us about their career paths and career highlights. So we will start with Roxanne. Oh, I think we just need to unmute you there, Roxanne.
That's I just say hello, everyone. Thank you for having me here. My career started over 20 years ago, and my passion for makeup was always there. I did all the family makeup and everything, but in 1995, I went to Humber College and I did fashion arts. And fashion arts really allowed me. I got a MAC makeup kit, and that's when I was really in heaven. I realized it was my passion. I realized it's something that I love and I could actually do in other people other than my family. And so, the art form was developed there because fashion arts, the first year, it was about makeup on each other. After that was finished, that's when I realized I love film and I wanted to get into film and TV. I love going to the movies. I enjoy that very much. So I started to pursue that. And my next step was to do my research. I did my research and realized, what does it take to be a film makeup artist? And it says assist, do a lot of free work, just get all the faces, work in department stores, and do as different shades. So I got a job at the Eaton Center and I worked on all the lines. And I was like top sales because I grabbed anyone to sit in my chair. I used my right hand, my left hand, young or old. And I tell them, you don't have to buy, just allow me to make them feel really good. And a lot of people in the stores are, walking from work and they're happy to have me massage their face and do makeup on them and practice with skin textures and different shades. And they always bought. So, of course, I was top sales because of that. And moving on from that, then I decided to go to makeup school because I wanted to really be specific for film and television by doing the special effects. So I did that 6 months course at School of Makeup Art in Yorkville in 2000. And from there, I got the opportunity to network with the NFB, I did a lot of short films. I was able to not just build on the art form itself, but communicating with people and learning how to network and having that group of, students. I was the mature students, everyone else was 17. And so that was a difficult part, but I helped everyone. So I got better by the time it came to my prosthetics or my makeup. And, just kind of putting myself out there. When I realized it, I got an opportunity to work on a pilot, and I had to go on this lake at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I had to be there the whole day. I was on time. I had all the gears, and they supplied me with gears, and I didn't get paid for it. And I was excited about this. I was like, yeah, I'm in the right profession. Because I truly loved it. Because working in an office for 9 o'clock and I live 5 minutes away, I was late every day. And I could be on set at that early time was something else. So,
Oh yeah. I can imagine, that's when you can tell that you really love it. If you're there for how many hours, 12, 15 hours, then you know that you love it. I, I wanted to, Julia, did you want to tell us a little bit about your story breaking in?
My story is actually almost the opposite in that it was never anything that I had set out to do. I have a fine arts background. I had wanted to be an architect, actually. I studied fine arts. Becoming an architect meant going to Texas for 5 years and studying at that time, because there wasn't a program in Ontario at that time for what I wanted to do. I did not do that. Single mother of 3 Caribbean immigrants, we were not able to afford 5 years of school in Texas. I started doing theater. Was doing theater. Everything I've done in this career has been almost accidental. I ended up working for MAC Cosmetics, which was an incredible experience. Frank and Frank, who started the line, were amazing. They were amazing at encouraging us. Every few months or so, Frank Angelo, who passed away, would call me into the office and say, "What do you want to do? We can make it happen. Do you want to learn about product? Do you want to work in the lab?" So I got to do a little bit of everything, and that helped me a lot in discovering what I was good at. From there, my first job in film and television was an accident. I was working in the counter. A producer came in and said they loved the makeup I had designed for the Canadian Cancer Society fashion show and wanted me to duplicate it for a character. I spent 3 days on set. It was not an experience I enjoyed. And I said, yeah, I'm not doing this. It was a very closed off environment. I like learning things. So doing this and this strange new world for me, and being excited about everything I was seeing, and saying to the head of the makeup department at the time, "Oh, what is that? How did you do that? Where did you get that?" And she said to me, "I don't give out my resources." And I thought, oh, okay, not for me. So I didn't do it for a while. The next thing I did was actually Ethelene, who was going to be here today. She eased me into my next show, and I did that for a few weeks, and it was The Planet of Junior Brown, and it was a great experience, but it still wasn't something I wanted to do. I ended up tripping into this, and at that time I gave myself a 5-year limit. But I learned quickly that it takes about 4 or 5 years for you to actually create a niche for yourself, to create a space for yourself. So by the time I was ready to go get out of it, I was suddenly being the head of the department and things. And I thought, okay, I'm going to do this for a bit and see where this lands. And every single thing I've done, I have been incredibly fortunate that there have been people who say, "Hey, you want to do your first HOD job?" I said, "Yeah, sure." "Hey, do you want to do this series?" "Yeah, sure." So there's so many stumbling blocks that are set up in front of us. I have been incredibly fortunate, and I will not deny it. Opportunity presents itself. Our strength lies in what we do with that opportunity. If you can't find an opportunity, then you make yourself available to whatever's there. I did my share of free things when I was a freelance artist, but the truth of the matter is, you are going to get in through the door somehow. Right now, they want people of color. We're going to get in because we're persons of color. But the reality is what you do once you're inside, that's what marks you. So I don't care how you get there. Once you're there, you do your darn best to show people you deserve that spot. And keeping in mind that you do deserve that spot. Opportunities have never not been as quick coming for us as they have for other people. We don't turn a corner and smack into opportunity. You have to keep your eyes open. You have to appreciate that it might not come in the shape and form that you're expecting, but there's an opportunity that you can actually get your foot in the door and you can prove. I don't like saying prove to yourself and prove to other people, because the truth of the matter is I don't owe anybody anything but my best. And that I do for myself. If they benefit from it, then that's great. But if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it the best of my ability. And at the end of it, if I think, I made it through and everybody seemed happy, but I know for myself I could do better, I'm going to make an opportunity so that I can learn and do better. That's what everything's about for me. Everything I do, I want to be better at. I want to create more opportunities for myself. And each time I do something to my satisfaction, I look for the things that I can improve on, and I try to be better next. And those are the moments that give me more opportunities.
Oh my gosh. Okay, Roxanne and Julia, you're setting us up for a masterclass here. Okay. And we know that Kalia and Mariah are going to bring it as well. So there's more to come. I love those comments. Kalia, and you're from Halifax, so that's a spicy little bit for us here. Central, I think for the most part, we're in Central Canada. Kalia, tell us about your entry into the industry and your philosophy as well.
Absolutely. So I'm currently located in Halifax, Nova Scotia. I'm a licensed hairstylist and makeup artist currently within the film industry. I've been in the beauty industry for over 16 years. Having an innate passion for customer service, it's my goal to, provide services that offers beauty without the damage. There's no greater feeling than bringing to life an image that a cast or a client sees of themselves and would love for the rest of the world to see. Like Julia said, it's all about opportunity. It's all about seizing the opportunity. So for me, a little bit of background on me, I'm an accountant by profession, but I'm a beautician by trade, right? So film wasn't something that was at the forefront for me, but I told one of my colleagues, Jamira Berry and Mallory Glenn, that I credit my, career in the film industry to them, because it was about me filling that void. For the BIPOC community, there's an overwhelming sentiment that there is not enough Black stylists or makeup artists well-versed in hair and makeup services within the industry. So for me, it's a matter of coming in to fill that void. And that's what I have been doing locally. Like Roxanne said, there was my first show was a short film. It was in a building that had no electricity. It was in the dead of winter. It was rough, but I loved it. I loved it. I can't begin to describe how I felt after completing that. My partner was like, "You're crazy. What did you do? You were out in the cold. There was no electricity. I burnt my jacket. It was a mess, but I loved it. It was a thrill, right?" And, it's not until you have those experiences you realize this is for me. This is what I want to do. This is something that I can wake up to. Those 5 a.m. call times, 11 p.m. wrap times. I live for those. I live for those experiences.
I see, Mariah, you're smiling because you know those long days. I'm going to bring you in here. And you're an actor. And I wanted to set this up a little bit because not every actor moves into executive advocacy and mentorship positions within their union. Tell us about your journey as an actor, how you got into the industry. You've been working for, is it 30 years? Okay.
More, but we're not going to talk about
Oh my gosh, but you look so good. Come on. Get out of here. You're like 25 years old. And so in that, and also, what are the steps that you took to become chair of ACTRA's National Diversity and Inclusion Committee? I mean, that's a jump there. So I'm going to let you tell us about yourself.
Yeah, but first I just want to say I love hearing all your stories, ladies. It's fabulous. It just it warms my heart. So I started acting very young. I started in theater. I was an actor. I think I was just, a kid who really loved, the performance, little dreams of twirling on stages and singing and doing all of that. And I got into theater pretty heavily at a very young age. And I just, did the trajectory. I was lucky enough to start working professionally, by the time I was like 12 or 13 or whatnot, in little kid commercials and little voice things and all of that. But theater was really my main passion. And it was really something I wanted to focus on. By the time I graduated high school, I had already done quite a few projects, but I went into theater school right away. And halfway through theater school, I became a mother. So then I was a single parent in the middle of theater school, trying to contemplate my life on why I've chosen the arts and no money or protection to continue my business. And actually, that's one of the reasons why I got into film. Once I graduated and really finished my career, finished my education part, I had already worked professionally and knew that film was going to be easier. I didn't have to dedicate 3 months of time to a theater show with a single babe, on my hip. I could go in for 2 days and walk out and come back in. So film became more of an interest. And I worked, it took a long time. It's a hard career, unlike some of the other businesses that are being represented here. I'm the product and somebody else decides if I'm worthy, I guess you could say, or not to be in their project. So it's hard to move that step forward to open up those doors. They either want you or they don't. They're either casting BIPOC or they're not. The role exists or it doesn't. So that was a hard reality. Plus I'm in Montreal, so there was only so much, so it was a hard reality. But I was lucky at some point where I kind of figured out a niche where I was really good at not being, the 25-year-old playing the 16-year-old. That was never going to be me. I was not about, showing my breasts on set, by the time I was, 18. So I found a niche playing cops and nurses, and I would play cops and nurses, like in every production that came across the country. And it was actually me and this other man, Russell, shout out to Russell if you're listening, who was Asian. And we were literally Black women coperners and Asian coperners in every production. And I didn't really realize that I was alone. I didn't realize that I was on these sets and I was literally 90% of the time, except for maybe some extra background people or whatever, that was the only person of color. To the point where sometimes I would get hired for a speaking role and then asked to stay behind and do like different characters, different costumes to fill up the spaces where they needed diversity in other scenes. There are projects where I exist as other background people after doing a lead role because there was nobody else. So, but somehow I was ignorant to that, or I don't even think I was ignorant. I think I was just so grateful that I was working and so, needy of, because I had chosen, this was my career. Somehow it was everything, the performance, the connection to a role, the camaraderie on set of working with people, the director, actor, all of it. I loved all of it. So I was really grateful. And then I think maybe, 15, 16 years in, I realized I had a really good niche in being able to train actors who were in theater and teaching them how to do proper film auditions and all that stuff. And I would just do it on the side. Eventually I was like, maybe I should get paid to do this because I'm taking a lot of time doing that. So I started charging. And then through that, I realized, wow, like, I'm helping all these people enter in this industry and none of them look like me. and then I started kind of maneuvering myself and realizing that maybe I needed to focus a little bit more on the marginalized communities and the members and the BIPOC and things that I could really speak to. And that opened up my eyes of how isolated I had been in the industry and how little opportunities I had actually been given, and how, like, yeah, sure, I was working all the time, but I was the token and everything. I was never the leads. I was never, put in the forefront. I was never the ingenue or I was never the one. And so I started focusing. I kind of figured my career would be really good in my late 30s. Like, I figured I would never fit in the little perfect pocket of the perfect 20-year-old something, because they were all, and I was 110 pounds wet then too. I didn't, I was looking fine too, but the roles weren't written for that. So I had to really focus on my career, take what I could get. Like Julia said, once I was in, I was like, I'm not letting go of this nugget. I'm going to keep building my career. And maybe, I think there was a part of me that was quite harsh on myself. And I thought, maybe I'm never going to get that. So I need to make sure the people behind me get that. And how do I do that? So I started mentoring on my own. And now I've been mentoring with Warona Sitsuelo at the Artist Mentorship Program and under Black Theater Workshop for the last 5 years. She's been doing it for almost a decade. And that's in Montreal. And it started only for theater. But of course, questions about film and industry and all that come up. And of course, stuff like diversity and inclusion and those kinds of titles started becoming a truth. Like, don't forget, we weren't saying these things, 15, 17 years ago. It wasn't even a language, even if we all knew it. And we may had discussions within our own people, but it wasn't a language. It wasn't a conversation being put out front. And then all of a sudden I started hearing that in ACTRA, like this percolation of, I think in Toronto, they had it for many, many years, but it wasn't necessarily reaching across provinces. It was very unique to Toronto. And when I moved to Toronto for 10 years, I heard a lot about it, and I was like, I need to grow that. So I came back to Montreal and I was like, how do I get involved and really make sure things are happening? And I find out that there is a committee, and I go, but nothing's happening. So I'm like, how do I get in there? And I started participating, and I quite honestly got frustrated. I quit multiple times because I just kept hearing like sad stories. Like, it was a griping session as opposed to an action session. It was always about, it's hard. And I'm like, dude, I know it's hard. Like, it's hard for all of us. But if we stay in this bucket of like how hard it is, we won't change anything. And I didn't feel anybody was in a position to help us in the leadership. So I kept leaving. And then some really good friends, Tristan Bilala in particular, came in and he was like, look, you have a voice, you have things to say, come and participate. And I started participating. And then I got louder and louder and louder. And I think now people are just kind of, I don't even know if people like me or want me there because they believe in me as much as it's that, Mariah will say it. She doesn't mind having that really uncomfortable conversation. I think Julia sees it.
Well, no, but this is the interesting thing. Sorry, I know this isn't, but that's the interesting thing, because you end up developing this reputation for being the person who's going to say the things that we all believe need to be said, but nobody really wants to say it. We tend to huddle and say, this is difficult, and not actually explore ways that we can make it smoother for each other.
Exactly.
But what ends up happening is one person becomes that quintessential stereotype of the angry Black woman because she's ready to pounce on everything. And I've heard some of the most ridiculous things through my career. People have said, I only hire Black people. I had to one day in a meeting sit down and say, I've had 11 assistants through the years. 3 of them have been Black because we only have 3 Black people. I hire mainly white people. Now, I'm sitting here and I say to you, I know I've never worked for you. I know my friend Sean has never worked for you. I know Jessica's never worked for you. These are the only 3 Black people. How would you like it if I say you only hire white people?
Yeah, exactly. And
you
we have
understand what that sounds like.
Yeah, and we have to take the opportunities of where we are to be in there. I'm somebody who believes in that. A dear friend of mine, Henri Pardo, founded the company Black Wealth Media, which specializes in producing and distributing Afrocentric content. And that was really, and I helped him build it, and I'm VP of that company. And that was really just from him he's a director and writer, and he was creating a series, and it was all about Black entrepreneurs from all walks of life, of all the different categories. And while he was doing that, he realized nobody knows these people exist. Like, they keep saying that there is no Black lawyers and ITs and, and all this stuff. Like, forget just our industry and what we visually present. People don't even realize it in all the standard, normal corporate industries even, So we were like, we have to find a place to tell these stories. So that's where I'm at.
I'm loving this. And you guys have skipped ahead. You ladies have skipped ahead to section 3.
That's Julia's fault.
And
Julia's fault.
And but you know what? It's all good. Let's let it flow. Let us bring in Kalia and Roxanne to let's talk about that hair and makeup equity issue. And I wanted to, if you can leave your mics on so you can jump in at any point so we can have a free flowing conversation. I won't jump in too much here, and I'll just kick it off a little bit. I was going to kick it off with Mariah, but Mariah, you've spoken. You have spoken. So I'm going to bring in Kalia. Let's talk about your perspective on the hair and makeup equity question issue. I'm going to leave it there, and we will, audience. Don't worry. We're going to have this wonderful conversation about this issue, and we will get to the day-to-day of what our guests do, and that unique. I think we want to really talk about why hair and makeup is so important. It's not just frivolous. It's not frivolous. It's something very important. And Mariah, we're going to ask you to speak to that as well. Like how important hair and makeup is to the character, to the actor. It's core to the storytelling. But let's skip ahead to section 3 here, and let's talk about that hair and makeup equity issue. Kalia, give us your thoughts.
So I think I'd start off by saying representation matters, right? I had a cast that sat in my chair and for so long, she was doing her own hair. She came prepared. She had a suitcase with wigs because she knew that every time she would have sat in someone's chair, she'd get like a mist and a pat, you're beautiful, you're good to go. While she would see her co-stars, co-actors, being pampered fully from head to toe, and a lot of BIPOC casts experienced that. So, a few days in, she came over to me and she said, listen, I am so grateful that you are here. This is the first time in my entire career that I feel at ease, right? That, like, my heart melted. And I'm a big baby. The tears just started rolling because that meant so much to me. I had another actor that sat in my chair and we did some crochet braids on her hair for a show. And my colleagues were not well versed in braiding, right? But I had them tag team on it. And that actor in that moment became teary-eyed and sat in that chair and said to me, this is the first time that I've experienced something like this. Can we take a picture? So for so long, again, BIPOC have had that void of not having people within the industry that fully understand their hair or that are willing to attempt to do their hair without damage.
Well, and it's also too, you want to see yourself reflected. So even when there are people who are fully capable to do their hair who are not people of color, the idea is it's never quite a space that's made for me that I'm equal in. I mean, we've had people come into the truck and start crying the second they see us. Like, it's phenomenal. Get thank you letters and we get all these kind of notes when people of color come by, but it's not just Black men and women. And it's also, I've had Asians, I've had South Asians, they all come in and it's, you know what? Across the board, across all the races, this is the first time I've walked into a trailer and the head of the department is a person of color. I'm like, don't worry, we got you. It's all taken care of. Black males come in and they say, oh, I didn't bring you the shave with. And we say, here's an outliner. Take yourself into your room. They're like, oh, snap, you got an outliner. Yeah. So it's also understanding that it's a comfort. Having somebody who not just reflects their culture and their group, because BIPOC as a whole, we're a group, but somebody who actually makes a space where you don't have to dig into a drawer in the bottom of your bin to pull out things that you can use on them. A lot of people do have things for people of color, but they never think about us as walking through the door. They always feel like, I'm going to be warned that there's going to be a person of color, and I'm going to have time to prep for the person of color who walks through the door. They don't have foundations for people of color out. They might have them, but it just never occurs to them to give it equal space on their station.
Yes.
So when you come in and there are people who are capable of doing it, but they got to reach into that lower bin and say, give me a minute, find some stuff I could use on you.
Oh. Roxanne, you want to come in here? I mean, that's
absolutely
Julia.
agree with what
I'm
Julia is
gonna
saying.
get my napkins.
The talent, they just feel, and also another thing I find is that they are afraid to say anything, because then the producer or the makeup artist herself would not speak to them. So of course, when they see me, they're very happy, and they're so very emotional. It's always very emotional. It's for me and for them, because even if it's a guy and he's not really requiring any makeup, I still make sure I get a hot towel really quickly for him and give a quick 5 seconds thing, and he goes out to face the world, and he feels really good, or she feels really good. I mean, it's important to the actors to be touched, to know that they're seen, and they're not gonna, if they say, oh, can you do this or that they're not taken as if they're fussy and they're
Roxanne, you're
troubled.
so right. There
Yeah.
have been times too with actors where, they want to just be calm before going on set, or they want to be able to go over their lines. And because they're so concerned about what the finished final look is going to be, they're not focused on their lines, or they're not zen. They're looking in the mirror and they're like dying inside because they want to say, can you just tuck that a bit? Or can you fix that? It's not right. They're not at ease. And so that's the purpose of us being here and empowering people to be a part of this industry, because it's that feeling. It's an indescribable feeling when you see someone that you can identify with, or someone, like Julia said, that's willing to create a space for you. They may not necessarily have to look like you, but if they create a space for you where you know that you're welcomed, right? And it's not an inconvenience that you're there.
Yeah.
That's important.
Exactly.
And I do want to bring in Mariah for this point. When we're talking about how the actor feels, I mean, it's the actor that's at the center of the show. I mean, it's not mountains or scenery that's acting; it's people. So, Mariah, please.
It's a very hard reality, and I think now the truth of that harshness is becoming louder and louder, because like people like me who may have worked for decades in this business where that wasn't even a possibility, and and so you suppress that. It's okay that they're spray netting your hair to your forehead. It's okay that they've just made you gray. It's okay, because you're so lucky to be here. And and so when that conversation started really becoming verbal, of course we were all talking about it with each other, but I mean within the industry where that conversation started becoming more and more out there, the amount of times I hit a wall with explaining, like, you just spent 3 hours on that woman to make sure her perfect locks were ringlet in this perfect way, and make sure that there was no blotchiness, and that every single thing. And it's not about that she just looks beautiful. We should all look beautiful because it's Hollywood, y'all, and the camera does horrible things to our skin and our look. But it's also just like, she gets to have, like all of you know, as the people doing the work on us, she gets to have that moment of absolute calmness, prep, probably redoing her lines, or even just the like chit chat and hanging out with her peeps that she's about to go and do, a 16-hour day with, because it's a de-stressor. And also, like, if I'm playing a role, the whole point is that I'm not going in there as Mariah. I'm going in there as my role. So why is it that I don't get to be my role, and so now I have to go on camera, I have to go on set, I look exactly the same way that I did 50 seconds ago, and I have to pull it out of my ass to be the best new character, whereas, Miss Thing got 3 hours to prep and has a new hairdo and has a new look and a new, right? So it's like all these little details that influence my role. Does the makeup make me a better actor? No, by yes, because it makes me feel solid in what I'm doing. It solidifies me in the role that I'm doing. And it's also just proper human treatment. Like this has become an issue on humans because how dare you? Do I want to walk into every single set and people behind on crews and behind the camera be a mixture of people of color? Absolutely. But regardless if that happens, why would you, like Julia said, have my color in the bottom drawer at the bottom of the bucket and don't even know that you need to mix that for me and that maybe I am 3 shades and not one? When you every white person is a million different shades too. This is not a new thing. We're just a different category of tones where you still have to paint us the same way you have to paint.
But that's correct. But this is a twofold thing. First of all, meaning that people don't see you. Yeah. They look at you and they see, oh my gosh, there's the instant, I don't know what to do here. Yeah. As opposed to looking at an individual, they could get confronted by stereotypes and racial profiling that, oh, you're black, so you're oily. The number of times in the beginning I had to say, no, I'm actually dry skin. Oh. And now the wheels are turning. What do I do? I'm lost. What do I do? She's supposed to be oily. But on the flip side of that are actors who come in and it's their turn to shine. I mean, let's be real. We get people who, you know what? We don't see that many people who look like us. And I finally have a part on a show, and the part may call for no makeup look, like a lot of shows I've been doing with action, but they want lashes and red lipstick and nails. And I think, okay, this is not the All About You show. This is the character you're playing. I get it. Girl, you've been ignored for so long. You want to shine. You want to sparkle. But part of my job is giving the showrunner, the producers, the studio, what they see for the character. It's not that I don't care about you, because you know I care about you. But I also think that the best thing for this character are the things that we outlined, that we worked out in prep. We talk about every character. We create these characters. So I need you to appreciate, and I say to people all the time, next show we work on, girl, I'll give you lashes. I'll give you red lipstick. I'll give you nails out to hair. But for this, you're not going to get much.
I just want even skin, y'all. That's all I want, even skin.
And I want to use this to segue a little bit, because I am mindful of the time. I wish we had 3 hours, because honestly, we should do this as a series. But I did want to segue a little bit into actually the craft that you're talking about, the actual work that you do, you know, as a stylist, makeup artist. What happens? You know, Julie, you touched on it about you work with the production. It's all part of what the production needs to make that final. It's not just this thing that is attached.
Exactly.
It's integral. And maybe just talk about like how you go through like any character, regardless of what their skin tone is. What is the importance of hair and makeup to the character and to the entire production? Because I think that people think that this is like, you guys, oh, you want more time, but it's like, no, this is what these crafts are supposed to do. They contribute to the production at the end of the day. Julie, I'll let you go, and then I'll Kalia and Roxanne as well. I'll bring you in there. And Julie, you do body art, right?
I do body art. I have a background in fashion, beauty, runway. Then I went into theater. And that's actually how I got into MAC. But I'm a graffiti girl. So I got into
that's
graphic.
Cool. And how do you work with the production? So there, say it's a period piece or whatever it is. Like, what is your approach to every film, and what happens in the pre-production, and as opposed to when you're in the truck on production and all that sort of thing? I'm just going to ask each of you to go through your approach and how, so people know what the actual job is.
Well, the last year was an incredible year for me. I did 3 action shows back to back. And my next two I'm heading into are both action shows as well. It's my thing. I'm a John Wick girl. I'm a, Jason Bourne. That's my thing. You get me going on about Sicario and the day's done. My process is, when I get hired for something and I get a script, I read it about 4 times off the top. And I create face charts for each character. When I know what a cast member looks like, I generally try to draw these little caricatures that look like the cast member. And I outline, like, for instance, for Reacher, we sat there and we outlined all the cuts and bruises. And so basically for every scene, I draw a little makeup storyboard. What we did for Most Dangerous Game, because there's so much, and it was 70 something pages of all these face charts. So, scene 1, there's this cut here. By scene 3, he has a cut there. Scene 4, he's wet, he has dirt. So I do all this breakdown, and we have meetings, and we have so many meetings about what they look like and what's going to happen, so that everything's firm in everybody's mind. And I work with a team. The showrunners, show creators that I work with the last few shows, he's fantastic. We got to a point where he just says, "I trust you." And it's such an incredible feeling to say, "Hey, what do you think about doing this?" "Julia, I trust you." So I create these charts, I share them with everybody. And what we did on the last show is everybody, each department got copies of my makeup Bible. So that if there's any question, if we're doing something and a director says, "Oh, I think you should have this hair," I'm going, "Well, here's the makeup Bible. This is what should be happening for this scene." And it's become a ritual for me. I've done it for most shows, but it's been cemented into this whole little book. And at the end of each show, I have a little book. The last show, the actor wanted a copy of it, so I gave it to him. It is something that people, I think a lot of actors don't realize, that you don't just sit down in a chair for most shows and somebody does whatever the heck they feel like. That these are actually discussions that we have. And depending on the show, some of these discussions are quite detailed. They're incredibly detailed. So that if I say, "Hey, we can't do that," I mean, there's always room for compromise. My idea is that I give production what they want in the beginning. Once they're happy with everything, we'll tweak things. We'll nudge things a little bit, but it's not the all about me show. It's not the all about you show. It is, we're all little pieces in this giant machine. And the machine doesn't roll smoothly if you're not holding up your end, if you're not fitting where you belong in that piece. And sometimes our egos get in the way. I say, I believe 90% of the problems we have is ego. Something hurts your ego. Somebody says, "I don't like this," and it's no, it's okay, girl. I'm not saying I don't like you. I'm saying that this could be something else. Let's do this something else.
Yeah.
So if you take your ego out of the equation, what is this situation? Just remove your ego for a second. And more times than not, you realize, this is not said to hurt me. This is about making this better.
That's amazing. Wonderful, amazing advice. Gosh, I wish we could go on forever.
I know.
It's so, but we're gonna find another way. And I wanted to bring in Roxanne, specifically Roxanne. You've done scripted and unscripted. Is there a difference in the process? Is there anything that, like what Julia was mentioning, that is similar or different to what you've done in your experience?
What Julia said exactly. That's the number one. That's like the protocol. Directors, you follow in the script and just following everything. Non-scripted, of course, there's no script. So if the look is contemporary, and it's a reality show and it's every day you're doing that. I was on Dragon's Den and it was like every day you would be doing that look for that season. And this is what is required because that's the format of that particular show. But it could be any type of reality. It just be a contemporary look. And it's what the showrunners and the directors would like this specific characters to be looking like. And mainly it's contemporary look. So that's the major difference. Yeah, there's no continuity to look forward to. Unscripted, you have to follow continuity with the script because when you're shooting, it's day 10 is on day 1st and back and forth. So you have to have a good continuity book.
Right. And which do you prefer between the two in terms of your process for the two?
I love them both, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I do.
Good for people to know. I didn't even think about hair and makeup for unscripted. Of course. My God, see, I'm the worst. Kalia, let's bring you in to talk about your process for hair and how you work with production.
Honestly, it's the same as Julia and Roxanne said in terms of everything is essentially established within the production meetings. I think what is an important component that we may not have discussed, and just piggybacking off of something Julia had said earlier, was, getting to know the cast. So we know we've read the script 3 and 4 times, so we know what the role entails. But if we, like, something that I do, with my cast is I send out introductory emails to them, right? I introduce myself, give them a bit of my background, my history, so it kind of puts them at ease, letting them know that this is who you, have to look for. I'm excited about welcoming you here. Let me know about your hair needs. What are the products that you love to use so that I can have them here for you, right? So when we do that introductory email, it puts the cast at ease. We can then discuss, okay, this is what production's thinking about your character, the look. So for example, if someone has red hair and production wants them to have black hair, so 2 things are going to have to happen in that situation. We're either going to have to get them a wig, or we're going to have to color their hair. So what does that entail? Taking somebody from red to black. So these are the things that we discuss in those introductory emails after production has established what the look is for that character.
Mhm.
Okay, that's amazing. That's a great point that you brought in. I'm looking at the time. We do have a couple questions, but I did want to ask Mariah just to speak a little bit to what your colleagues, your fellow panelists here have said about that that process. And have you been involved in a process, for example, how Kalia was mentioning, where she reaches out to the actor? Have you been on the receiving end of that, where someone, here we go, they reach out to you and they connect with you so you can be part of it?
As you know, none of these ladies have done my hair, so or makeup. Generally, no. I will be fair though. I have worked with some incredible people, white, black, green, doesn't matter. I've worked with some incredible people. I've worked with a ridiculous amount of morons. I've had multiple projects where nobody has even noticed that I'm in the chair. Who aren't really. I am nothing. I am just and and all of that. I have horror stories after horror stories, not only from my own experience, but millions of my friends and million events. But I will say that I also understand production, and I've worked on that side, and I direct, and I'm learning producing, and I'm a script consultant and such. So I understand the beast, and I've just been in it for so long. So I know that there's a million things that are decided before I even walk in there. And it took me years to get there, but now I'm one of those actors who can go in regardless of who's about to touch me. And I say, cool, what are we doing? And I make sure I initiate a conversation, because you're touching my face now. And once it's on, okay. So I would really appreciate if I don't get a 1980s high top, because it's really not 2022, like it'd be great. I have those kinds of conversations, but I also am very aware that they have rules, they have people to answer to. There's a structure, there's a design that was made. And also, depending on how experienced you are, you start to understand film. There's a look to every era. There's an energy to every character. You also have to do that. So I think one of my main things I would say to any emerging artist, when you get onto those sets, if you didn't get a beautiful courtesy email and a beautiful conversation, and you don't feel necessarily like you're meeting family when you walk into the room, take it upon yourself to just say, hey, what is the look, before they start peeling and ripping and poking and doing things to you, so that you can take that opportunity to calm down too and have an understanding. And you'll know really quickly of who you're working with too in that moment, so you can adjust accordingly if need to be,
Oh, okay. Well, fantastic advice for everyone. We do have a few questions here, and we are on time. We are on time. Let me get through here. Okay, these are not real glasses. They're just so I can't actually see what's up. Okay. Here's a question. Do you think the hairstyles that we see on women of color on TV are the ones you see in real life?
This is honestly no.
Sorry.
Oh. No, like I've watched so many shows where I've cringed, like why? And I think the question that people say a lot is probably like, Why would they sit there and let them do that to them? They have no choice. They have no choice. The only other choice they would have is to walk out and say, you know what, I don't want to do the show.
It puts the actor at a major risk. It's a very scary reality. I mean, obviously, once you've been in the business long enough, you know, like obviously I walk on set, generally I know somebody at some point, you know, so that's a different conversation that I get to have than somebody who's been in the business for 3 years. You know, you're not going to start going and giving attitude, because then you're the problematic Black actor anyway, right? So
Right.
it's an uncomfortable reality, but actors don't have any say in that.
No.
But that being said, I find it across the board. Like, I'm sorry, but I see white women with the same 2 hairstyles, short hair and for long hair. Everybody takes a big barrel curling iron and curls the ends of their hair, and then and it's like, why are there hundreds of women walking around with this one hairstyle?
Oh my God. Right? Okay. I've been prompted. Next question. I like this one. Okay, I like them all. You've used on set that have amazed the crew. This is a fun one.
My technology.
So.
My iPad was called a toy by a producer once, until we sat in a meeting and we started talking about an alien, an avatar spoofy kind of character. And I sat in the meeting and I drew it out. And by the end of the meeting, I turned around the iPad and I said, like this? And he said to me, did you just draw that? Well, yeah. I take back everything I said about an iPad being a toy. Every single time I use my iPad, I don't use paper at all, and I haven't for nearly 10 years. My technology is the thing. I think we all will get comfortable with it. It's not going anywhere, and COVID has made it much more firmly a thing. Don't be afraid of it. Use it. It is a tool like any other tool in your gear.
Anyone else? That's great advice. Anyone else? Something that's amazed the crew?
My talent.
I just want to say my skills.
Your skills, just everything about you. Okay, all right. We'll take that. Here's another question about, it's interesting. When new in the makeup industry, how long should you be doing free work before you start charging so that you're not taken advantage of? Makeup.
Wow, that's
just hair. You can talk hair. We can all
I'll
talk.
say you know
acting. You can talk about that.
You'll know when you had enough.
Yeah, well, that's it. You know what? That's a good answer. You've had enough. You've had enough. But also, you're trying to build your resume and you're trying to get people to know you. So to this day, I still do free things. I try to do makeup for shorts and no pay things for people of color. So I try to do at least one thing a year. And free is a part of life, especially if you're trying to help each other out. But yeah, you'll know when you've had enough. You got bills.
I would say be intentional as well. Great what Julie just said. It's like you just have to pay forward. I mean, I still do free things, of course, to help my community out. I will do that. But as a new artist, be intentional. If there's something that you could make some connection, because that's always about it. You could network. If it's something that's going to be good in your resume, and if there's something that you need more practice on, by all means, go ahead and do it and work it like that, you know.
Okay, that's great. And I have a couple other interesting ones here. Oh, right. I'm getting notes. What are some of your must-have products and tools that you recommend every makeup artist, hairstylist should have in their kit? And Mariah, do you have stuff in your kit? Do you have like emergency hair and makeup things when you go on a show?
Actor who doesn't, you know, there's a million things that we have hidden in our trailers. You know, I've now gotten to the point in my career where I can have a true conversation with regardless who's about to touch my face, and I understand the language well enough, and I know my face, and I know how to describe it well enough that as soon as they start, I'm not afraid to say, no, not that scratches my face. No. Do you have another moisturizer? Because I'm able to do that now. You know, but there's always something in my trailer. Always.
Well,
Right.
the way I
I'd
look
say
at
like not all hair is created equal. We all know that, especially even with black hair, not all black hair is created equal. So it's important to understand the cast, the different people that you see, understand their different hair types, and have products that you can use on different hair types. So there's not like one particular go-to product or brand I would say has to be in my kit. It's a matter of making sure that I'm prepared. So whomever sits in my chair, I can cater to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it varies. It varies. Like I'm gonna, can I say names, product names? I love Dior's Backstage. I like NARS. They have an incredible range of product. So generally speaking, the two things that are always out on my counter is Dior Backstage. I added MAC Face and Body, their new Face and Body ratings, and I have anything from NARS, any of the NARS bases. That being said, I have friends who can't work with those products, and then things they have, like they like Fenty, I can't make that work to save my life.
Yeah.
It's whatever you're comfortable, but have a variety, because as was said earlier, not all things work for everybody. There is no definitive one thing that's going to be, the must have in your kit. Is the must have that you can work with, that works well and you get good results and looks great on camera.
Riri, we love you. Don't come and hate us.
Absolutely.
Rihanna.
I say great brushes. Have beautiful, beautiful brushes. Always. So it feels good on the face and you can really massage the nerve endings of the face. So have the best brushes.
Take care of them.
Yeah,
take
care. Yeah, and take care of them for sure. Yeah.
All right.
Clean your gear. Darn it. Clean your gear. People ask me, your stuff new? No, I clean my stuff. What's wrong with you people?
Oh my gosh. Okay. I am watching the clock. Okay. I'm debating whether I should ask this question because it's going to open up a can of worms, but hopefully we can get through it really quickly and then we can, wrap up really quickly. Okay. So here we go. How do you deal with racism on set while still trying to break into the industry and build your name? Oh my God. In 15 seconds or less. No, just kidding.
15 seconds. Honestly, thankfully, I'm so grateful. I have not experienced any form of racism on set. I'm very grateful for that. There was one situation that I did experience with a colleague, which was a bit disheartening, but they ultimately apologized for it. But in terms of racism, I have not experienced, and I'm grateful for it. So that's my 15 seconds.
Roxanne,
I would say
15.
tell someone. Once it happens, tell someone, accept it or not accept it, but be graceful and just tell someone. Don't keep it.
Julia, because I'm going to end on Mariah.
I'm my father's child. I get pompous. The reality is the way that the things that have been directed towards me, you speak well. You seem educated. Are you sure you're from the Caribbean? Things like that, where they think they're complimenting you. You're not like other Black people. They think they're complimenting you, but they're actually the cuts of the death of 1,000 cuts. So that's when I usually get really pompous and I humiliate them with words. It is my secret weapon.
Okay, let's take that. Okay, Mariah, to round
I will just say
here,
because
and an uplifting note. Give people some hope.
But I mean,
as we end
it's
here.
a very different thing. You guys are in a position compared to me, often way more empowered than I am, and I am sure that probably seems odd for you guys to hear, but it's a reality. I'm product, and it's the microaggressions come left, right, and center, and they can be very jarring. There are many people that you can connect with as a performer. If you have an agent, that's number one. Speak to the agent. If it comes to something that is actually quite prominent, you call ACTRA in your local branch. They have a steward that is working on that particular project, and I know from my Montreal branch, they will deal with it right away. They are great people and they're there to protect us. So communicate. I will say that for decades, silence was violence. So this is the time to start speaking out on things. Now, as an artist, there is a difference. Don't make a scene because you are the product and they can get rid of you. It is the fact. So one of the ways to deal with that is to, call an agent, They can yell at production. You can stay centered and be your artist, but always remember that you have your safety, your mental health, your truth, your belief in yourself is the most important. If you feel ignored, you feel disrespected to a point where you feel like there's no out, you take yourself out of that. There is nothing that is worth feeling like you can just are getting hits and punches on all sides. And the great news is that we're in 2022. People like me, people like these women are changing the world. We will burn it down and rebuild, my friend. So, things will change. I promise you, but silence is violence. So people do need to find ways in a safe way to talk about this and to make it clear so that we can start abolishing it. And hopefully in 5 years from now, we're not black, white, and green. We're just human and creators and working together and making beautiful film. That's the dream.
That is the most fantastic way to end this wonderful conversation. I'm so excited. I thank you so much to our lovely guest panelists, Kalia Cunningham, Roxanne Donabrega, Julia Carter, and Mariah Inger for being so generous with your time and comments. Thank you to the audience for your thoughtful questions. And thank you to Real World Screen Institute for this forum, and specifically founder and executive artistic director Tanya Williams and her wonderful team, Safia, Safia, don't hurt me, Safia Abdigir, Pahul Baines, Kelvin Omari, and Jordan Smith St. Kitts. I hope I didn't leave anyone out there. Thank you, everybody. This was a wonderful conversation. Let's do it again.
Please.
And so we have to hold for 5 seconds.